Senior Partner Marketing Manager with HashiCorp, and I'll be helping to facilitate today's webinar. Please feel free to type your questions during the webinar. The webinar is recorded, and the recording will be made available after post-processing, usually within 2 days. Our speakers today are Jason Broadbent, Senior Solutions Engineer at HashiCorp, and Vinod Sundaraj, Senior Director, Cloud Security Product and Solutions with Fortinet. They'll be talking about how HashiCorp Consul-Terraform-Sync and Fortinet can reduce the likelihood of human-driven misconfigurations and bolster your first line of defenses. Please feel free to reach out directly to speakers for any follow-up questions as well. And now let's get started. Over to you, Vinod.
Thanks for the introduction, Karen. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. We'll get started with the agenda and then move on to the content for today. Beginning of the agenda, we'll talk about market trends, and then we will address security challenges that exist in public and private clouds. We'll spend a little bit of time on the Fortinet solution, how we work with HashiCorp to provide a strong and robust solution to address the security challenges. And then Jason will take it away to talk to you about Consul and how to implement Consul for network infrastructure automation. And then he will conclude with a demo. Next. So as we all know, today most organizations are adopting cloud, and cloud adoption is rapidly on the rise. According to Gartner, the market is supposed to grow by 30% to about $107 billion in 2022, which is this year. In addition to this broad-based cloud adoption, we are seeing a majority of the organizations looking into expanding their cloud footprint and deploying hybrid clouds and multi-cloud. So according to HashiCorp's survey last year, about 76% of organizations are already doing this, and about 86% of organizations are planning to do this within the next 2 years. With this broad adoption of the cloud and expanding attack surface, with having to secure both the on-prem infrastructure as well as the cloud infrastructure, organizations are facing a wide variety of security challenges. Security issues are on the rise. We hear about it every day. According to IBM Security's Cost of a Breach report in 2021, the average cost of a breach on the public cloud is about $5 million, and that on the hybrid cloud is about $4 million. So, with the broad adoption of cloud, organizations have 3 key goals. They want to increase agility by accelerating their application deployment and rollout, but they do not want to leave security behind, and therefore want to integrate security into their DevOps workflows, and also have a capability to automate the detection and response security cycle. They need to do that to reduce risk, which can emerge from known vulnerabilities and unknown threats. They want to prevent data breaches, as we saw in the last slide, caused by internal and external threat actors. And ultimately, what they want to do to reduce risk is to achieve a consistent security posture across deployments, be it on-prem or the cloud. While doing so, they want to also optimize cost by simplifying and streamlining their security operations across all the deployments, and thereby avoid runaway costs typically associated with cloud usage. Next. So, when the organizations are deploying cloud, what we have understood from our Cybersecurity Insider Cloud Security report published in 2021 is that there are some key challenges that they face with respect to securing the networks. First, there is a lack of visibility on the public cloud, and that can be that is understood because it's a shared responsibility model where the cloud provider owns the infrastructure and the customer or the organization controls the what they deploy on the cloud. But what is running in the infrastructure and how it's running is not visible to the organization or the end user. In addition to that, there is not enough control of the infrastructure. For example, logging might be something that is not 100% in control of the organization. And then they also face challenges with respect to having trained resources, like trained staff that are very adept in managing cloud operations as well as deploying security. And finally, if they do not watch or control their infrastructure, there are runaway costs associated with the cloud that make it very expensive. With respect, there are some specific issues with respect to public cloud platforms. Organizations that want to utilize cloud provider security services also face challenges. The cloud provider services are limited in terms of security capabilities. They do not have the same depth and breadth of features and functions that security ISVs bring to the table. They also have a challenge with lack of integration of the products that are part of their own service portfolio. Then this basically places puts a huge burden on the operator where they have to manage multiple disjointed consoles. In the virtual data center or a private cloud, there are also challenges. So as customers and organizations move from physical to virtual data center, they are suddenly surprised by the high volume of intra-data center traffic that they see happening between workloads within the virtualized data center. And what used to work for them in terms of IP-based network policies and firewall policies do not work in this kind of a dynamic environment where the workloads can also be moved between hosts. And there is simply a lack of control as data moves across these workloads and hosts in a virtualized data center private cloud. Fortinet provides a very robust solution with our FortiGate virtual network, virtual next generation firewall for both the public cloud and private cloud use cases. It provides converged security and networking. It's a high performance next generation firewall that can be also used for advanced routing. And in cases where customers are interested in deploying SD-WAN, it can also be used for secure SD-WAN capabilities. It offers advanced protection through our AI ML powered FortiGuard global threat intelligence to stop advanced attacks. We support cloud native integrations that enables our customers to operate on any public cloud or private cloud hypervisor, scale on demand, and leverage cloud provider services or SDN platform services very easily. We also support simplified management through a single pane of glass that enables our customers to ensure consistent security across the cloud, virtual data center, or on-premise locations. And last but not least, we offer a very rich set of automation capabilities that enable organizations to deploy network security in minutes and easily scale up operations and also integrate with DevOps workflows. The FortiGate VM next generation firewall can be used to secure virtual data centers by providing advanced security, deep packet inspection, and granular segmentation. It can be used to securely connect to public cloud from branches and remote offices using high-speed VPN or secure SD-WAN. It can be used to secure your perimeter in the public cloud by deploying the firewall as an inline firewall, therefore providing north-south protection as well as east-west protection in the public cloud. It can be utilized for customers interested in deploying multi-cloud to secure the networking across clouds through a seamless overlay network and consistent security for hybrid cloud and multi-cloud networks. And then, most importantly, it can be utilized to centralize operations with the support you have from our automation frameworks and our Security Fabric API. You'll be able to automate deployment and response very easily. So when it comes to security automation, the FortiGate virtual firewall and FortiManager, which is our management application, have a wide variety of integrations with cloud providers and on-prem SDN technologies. It can be used with cloud automation templates or Terraform providers for day zero design and day one deployment. Using our Security Fabric connectors, which support integrations with cloud service providers and SDN platforms, you can automate your day two security operations as well. The benefits of doing so result in an agile deployment and increases the efficiency of security operations and also reduces cost. Here's a quick look at the ecosystem integrations that we support. We have support for a variety of public cloud platforms. 3 of the major providers are shown here. In addition to that, we support a variety of private cloud or virtualized data center, SDN platforms, and hypervisor technologies as shown to your right. Therefore, we have the breadth and the depth of integrations for you to, deploy an automated infrastructure, easily. The key here is that, we recommend the Terraform provider to our customers, for multi-cloud and hybrid cloud implementation. And, we have published Terraform providers for both our FortiGate virtual firewall and physical firewall and FortiManager. I will explain how that's done shortly. And then what's new here is our console integration, which is the main topic for today. So, Fortinet supports the FortiOS provider, which enables our customers to automate security for basic deployments where they operate a few virtual and physical firewalls. So it's the same FortiOS provider that can be utilized to manage both physical and virtual firewalls. This can be used in a smaller deployment. But for organizations that are looking at larger deployments, we recommend using the FortiManager provider. The FortiManager is, as I mentioned before, it's a management application that manages the FortiGate next generation firewalls. And that provider can be used for advanced deployments where there are multiple or many virtual and physical FortiGates in play. In addition to deployment, when it comes to day-to-day operations, the Fortinet Security Fabric plays a very key role here. Through the integrations that we just saw, we just looked at, it can enable automated detection and response cycle. So, you're all familiar with the fact that Consul can be used for application infrastructure automation, and that Jason is going to spend some time talking to you about it as well. And up to this point in time, network security automation has been done through Terraform providers. But there has been a gap here, actually. For day 2 operations, there has not been a consolidated solution from Hashi and Fortinet. And that is what the ConsulTerraform-Sync essentially enables. It enables HashiCorp and Fortinet to deliver an integrated and coordinated security that tracks any changes in the application infrastructure through the CTS module, and then apply the right firewall policies or rules at the right points in the network, and therefore ensuring security in a very dynamic environment. So here is a look at how we do this, right? So what we have provided here is a FortiManager ConsulTerraform-Sync module. It enables IT operations to automate day 2 network security operations, which benefits them by reducing manual ticketing process. Jason is going to spend a good amount of time talking to you how that's done. The module connects to our FortiManager management application, and it can be used to dynamically update firewall addresses as and when changes are detected by Consul. And by doing so, you can essentially employ matching firewall policies as application scale up and down dynamically. It uses a declarative construct and which makes it repeatable across the organization. It covers multiple FortiManagers as well as multiple FortiOS devices. This module is available. Can you go back one second? This module is available to you from the Terraform registry. The link is shown below the diagram there. And you can download it from there and utilize it. Jason will now spend a good amount of time talking to you about Consul and the network infrastructure automation, and also provide you a demo of the joint solution. Jason.
Thank you, Vinod. Very enlightening. Thank you. Thank you very much. Very insightful. So if we continue with the theme of old and new, and just really think about how we manage and secure our traditional environments. We provide it from a very much perimeter-based environment where unauthorized traffic could be restricted or blocked. Anything within that data center, we generally trusted, and really, you know, it was a capability of once we're inside, you know, everything was good. Our rule base wasn't really that fine-grained. We expanded certain side of rules just to allow expansion and contraction of certain applications, purely just to simplify it for ourselves rather than anything else. But now as we move and think about migration to other strategies, that modern perimeter model, you know, is attacked every single day. And we've got to be able to manage that, you know, not in the same perimeter firewall mentality, but how we can manage that from a zero trust world. And this is the evolution that we're starting to see with it over the past 18 to 24 months, is that migration to cloud. And what does that actually mean to teams and organizations, and how we really think how to secure those applications and that infrastructure. Because as Vinod nicely talked about previously, that can't be done by IP address. That's a very static world. You know, we're living in a very much agile environment where, you know, certain IP addresses may not live for long enough for us to create security rules around it. So we need to think about how we manage that from an identity perspective, and how we manage our APIs and those capabilities as well. And from a HashiCorp point of view, is we want to unify those interfaces where we're not looking at those complex tools across those different environments. We know there are different tool sets for all of those public clouds, plus our own ones that we have from our own private data centers. From an operational perspective, that is quite complex in its own way. And especially if we start to add new technologies within those environments, with operational point of view from a small team strategically to manage those environments becomes very daunting very quickly. So from a HashiCorp perspective and our cloud operator model, you know, we started to looking how we unify those different environments in a simpler form, from a deployment of an infrastructure as code utilizing Terraform, utilizing Vault as our security secrets management, and maybe even as, you know, as an encryption management capability, and ultimately using Consul as our network and automation, which we talk about today. We also have our own orchestration system, Nomad, which allows you to deploy containers and multiple workloads as well. So from a ubiquitous world of managing not just traditional workloads, but also new capabilities, and trying to give you that foundation in a simple, more operational, slimlined capability. If we look at transitioning to the cloud and dynamic capabilities and how we automate some of those abilities, and we'll touch on this in the next 2 or 3 slides, but most organizations are still relying on ticket-based systems as they expand their application instances, or actually contract depending on busy times of year. And that can take a lot of time. That can take days, weeks, or sometimes even months as well. So the utilization of Consul, understanding of where all your applications are, the quantities of those applications, and allowing you to automate those processes and making sure we maintain a fine-grained rule posture is really important. And if we look at, you know, a multi-cloud environment, integrating that type of solution can be very complicated and very daunting. Yes, it's something that we think about that is needed, but how do we actually make this happen? How do we have those distributed services in a microservice architecture in a secure way across all those environments, also providing you a user interface that can show you all of those different networks and provide you with all those services and applications that reside in those areas, So with visibility and awareness, I know where all my healthy instances are very quickly and very easy. So in times of troubleshooting or in times of investigation, you can have all that detail quite quickly to hand. Console allows this distributed service platform. It provides these capabilities of having those services distributed. Would you do this normally? Maybe not. But the fact is, it's giving you that capability to say, as I evolve, as I transform, as I change from my private data center, I'm creating a foundation of console that's giving me that source of truth of where all my applications live to allow me to have that migration strategy born in place. And this is where we start to see the power of console. But we've got to be mindful, it's not just about the machine-to-machine access, it's also how we manage that identity control across that the different pieces from a human SSO type of capability, which we've really thought about and utilized quite a lot. So when we have these control points, and not just one-off, we have to make sure that these identity-driven controls are paramount across that breadth of all these points. We need to know that everyone has a cloud strategy, but not everyone has the industrialized across the whole breadth of this world. And this needs to be global and it needs to be ubiquitous. And customers agree with us. It's about that zero trust aspect across all of these vectors and how we achieve that. It's about that whole puzzle and not just about that individual piece. But yet, as organizations, we still focus on those individual pieces. But in order to embrace this zero trust principle, we must be platform agnostic. We must be able to scale across in an automated manner. It needs to be repeatable and manageable as well. And this is where the likes of HashiCorp and the integrations of Fortinet are allowing organizations to do that. Let's not forget the fundamental job of what we're trying to do. It's to try to get your company's applications in front of your customers before your competitors do as quickly as possible. That's the name of the focus of what we're trying to achieve. Having this type of operational strategy of trying to go through this governance to make sure that we can provide and make sure that from a manual process of a manual workflow to get that in front of our customers takes time. We have to make sure that we go through the right ticket process. We have to make sure the right people are available. We have to, wait for their workload to reduce to allow them to get to that actual ticket. So that whole process can take time. Automation is enabled. This is really key. Automation of not just the greenfield public data centers, but also looking at how we manage the brownfield environments from our own private data center and making sure that's part of that strategy. And that's sometimes what's overlooked. And this is what we're going to talk about today. And this is where we're going to try and fill that void where our developers are creating that application. We've spent a lot of time in making sure that process at that point is automated and that deployment to our customers. But unfortunately, in the middle, we have this delay of this manual process that I talked about. If we look about the day two operations of making sure we automate this process of making sure that we maintain that fine-grained security posture, that we spent a lot of time in making sure that we're guard against those bad actors penetrating our world. We have to make sure that is fully maintained through all of our security world. And this is where what we're going to talk about is how we manage all of this security posture from a FortiGate perspective, making sure they're providing you with that security that they talked about you with, and provide those fine-grained postures to keep you secure. The way Console does this is by providing a secure control plane, an automatic secure control plane across those environments. So as you expand into those public data centers, as you utilize those environments, we can make sure that we keep that secure. So from an end-to-end secure world, from an application point of view, we can make sure that they're authenticated and authorized and allowed to communicate with each other. but ultimately making sure those automation processes into your private data center are also part of the strategy. So as we go through the physical and the virtual firewalls, maintaining your security on those applications, this can become fully automated from a console Fortinet Terraform-Sync provider. And if we look at from the automation process, as we build out this, and you can see from console discovering those identity, those applications, and then building out its source of information in the catalog, it then programs those security policies on the FortiGate firewalls as well, in those VMs, and ultimately make sure that it meets and maintains that your security, maintains your segmentation that you've built, maintains your security based on our subnet rules, and not expanding those subnets or side ranges to fulfill that expansion and contraction. And this is the power of what HashiCorp can provide you. So if we talk a little bit about the network infrastructure, we look about some of the load balancers and firewalls that are hard to automate. And if we look in some customers, there are a lot of load balancers and firewalls, you know, and to try and manage that can become very operational difficult. Also to understand what the state is and to make sure they're aware of the state and the changes of that environment is really important. And ultimately, what we don't want is the application teams waiting for these manual changes for those releases. And network and security teams struggle. They have so much to do. Just trying to alleviate some of that pressure away and automated well will help them concentrate on the strategic planning that they need to do to keep their environments working and up to time. So from a console perspective, we can provide that source of information where the healthy services are. When they become unhealthy, they are deregistered, so they are not used. So from a load balancing perspective, we can distribute that traffic to the healthy services in a near real-time perspective. And we can also provide that automated change with some of those brownfield technologies that we talked about. And if we glue and tie these together, this becomes really powerful as a strategy moving towards that ubiquitous goal of multi-cloud. Let's remember what the key case. We are wanting to get our applications in front of our customers before our competitors do. So this manual handover process where we are delaying getting our applications to our customers can be automated and changed with the use of console. So where we spent a lot of time in automating the CI piece, we can now look at how we can then get that continuous deployment without that continuous delay, where we now have that source of information from console, from its knowing the state environment and allowing those applications to maintain that secure posture. And just as a little bit of visibility into how things look, as services become unhealthy, we can see their IP addresses. We have that visibility and awareness. We can see if the security is allowing to communicate through an API perspective. And we can really give you that fine-grained information to allow you to see what you have or what you haven't got within times of troubleshooting and times of where there's an issue. And what we ultimately want to do is we want to remove where those weaknesses are, or we want to remove what we think our IP addresses are from utilizing our spreadsheets, our DDI tools, or even our CMDB tools, because they only ever grow, you know, and they go out of date and they're never managed because it's people have so much to do for their own job. So if we can try to remove some of those manual tasks, and we can try to remove some of the weaknesses that are supporting the infrastructure and give you that source of information in a real-time catalog, this becomes really useful for you as a customer to now not only understand where your applications are they healthy, the quantity of the applications and where they live, but now you can make sure that they're all automated from a private data center mentality as well. So as we walk through this from a console Terraform synchronization, and I'll show a demo in a few minutes as well, just to tie this together to try and hopefully give you a picture of what we're discussing. We talk about console knowing where all those healthy environments are. So that is providing you that real-time information. So again, where you may be looking at some of your playbooks and cookbooks that you have that need to be maintained, that need to be managed, that need to be updated because they don't know the state. This is where console can provide you that state of information and allow Terraform to integrate into those providers and tasks to then start making those decisions. So as those services and applications change, console and Terraform work collaboratively together in this push-pull type of architecture. So we're watching to see that service catalog, that source of truth that console owns. And if anything changes, it would trigger Terraform code to update that network infrastructure. And that CTS information or results in a Terraform run, and that would then be managed and maintained as a key value store from that state of information. So it's constantly managed. It is in a near real-time perspective. And now we're reducing those tickets from days, weeks, months to seconds. And we have lots of customers that are doing this as something that is really important to them, because reducing that manual process into something that can take seconds is incredibly powerful. We do this with Fortinet across all of our clouds and all of our platforms, across all of different runtimes, whether it's on premises or off. We provide that ubiquitous environment where we're not looking at fixing specific point solutions that look at just particular areas. We look at the whole holistic environment and make sure that all of this is part of that process. So even though from service 1 to service 2, we know that console and Terraform and the security elements of Fortinet is managing that. And we're not putting more complex technology involved to make that possible. We also understand it's a choice. We understand that Terraform is not the only answer. And we understand that customers have already probably got some type of automation process in place. That is fine. You know, we're not here to remove everything. We're here to work in tandem and be collaborative with the platforms that you have. You know, what we're trying to provide you with is that simplicity where we can give you that single visibility, that single tool set, and then automate any of those tool sets that you may have in already as well. So some of your developers, application teams, network teams, whoever the owners may be, are only seeing one interface instead of seeing many different ones. So we understand it's a choice, but we're also trying to simplify that infrastructure by providing you a uniformed access. So from a network infrastructure automation process, for those customers that have Terraform, we're leveraging your existing skills. We're not providing anything different. We're going to make sure that it deploys easily, repeatable, without manual mistakes. If anything changes within that state, it's automatically triggered, and make sure that all that relevant network infrastructure is always repeated in the same instance. And we are making sure that we're serving the customer as soon as they're ready to go. So from a stateful environment, from an automation point of view, and from a repeatable point of view, it makes things very straightforward and very easy to manage from a customer perspective. So from a demonstration point of view, and if we look at what Vinod talked about before, this is exactly what we're going to show. You know, so we're utilizing FortiManager, address group, and package updates for ConsulTerraform-Sync. It runs as a daemon that enables that publisher subscriber paradigm that I talked about between console and FortiManager. and it will support this NIA capability. The Terraform module, sorry, I've lost my case. The Terraform module will connect to that FortiManager and creates that firewall address for each of those extra console services that are added or removed based on that service name. So each service will introduce that firewall address for that service name, and using this module will automate ConsulTerraform-Sync and will dynamically add or remove those instances. And we'll talk about this. And this is part of the day two automation process that Vinod talked about earlier in his talk track. And this is what we'll go through. So let me just move across to my demonstration, and so you can view some of the other toolbar. So just bear with me 1 second as a change. So as I'm going to show here, I'm going to show how console looks, and I'm going to provide you with that information within FortiManager, and I'm also going to show you how, when I register and deregister services, how it affects within the FortiManager platform. So let me just move a couple of toolbars because they're covering my tabs. So I have my service console currently. I just have my console cluster running, which is just one instance currently. I have a couple of other services that I have in the background, which we're not going to use today, but I'm sure that they're not going to be part of this console synchronization. So you can see specifically for the services that I add. And from a FortiManager perspective, excuse me, I need to log in again. It doesn't have long from our security, as you'd hope. So let me log in. I try and type in without saying it, which is always hard for me. And then we'll get into the FortiManager. So as we look into the object configuration piece and some of the security elements that have been added, we're going to start concentrating on some of the services that I'm going to add into here. And then we'll show you how that subscriber, publisher and subscriber updates change and how those tasks are executed to provide that appropriate services. As I move across to my tab, you'll be able to see my code. So I'll just show you my directory. Very simple and very straightforward. I've got a task that I have that will leverage the value of service. So if I just quickly show you, very simple task, the description. This is my security posture that I'm going to be maintained. I'm going to add some services, and it's all going to be added as it happens. So as those firewall address groups would be created, and I'll just show you the other file that is important. So from a console Terraform, we're opening a package, and what the firewall address group will be created based on these key variables, and these arguments will provide the scepter mapped services that will be added or removed. And as the module is updated, the relevant firewall address, as I showed previously, will be added or removed. So as I haven't set up console Terraform, it's a daemon that's running in the background. I'm just going to set it up and add that configuration. So all I'm saying is, from a console Terraform synchronization point of view, that task directory that I just showed you, and I'll show you again, is just going to utilize that and say, right, I'm going to look for my FortiManager. I'm going to create those tasks. I'm going to make sure that I'm keeping an eye on any changes. And what I mean by that is, as I add some of my services within console, it's going to synchronize into FortiManager, and it's using this through this task that I've asked. So again, this is my console. This is the provider. This is the policy that I'm going to set up. So now, as we've got ConsulTerraformSync set up, I'm just going to register a task just something I've done previously just to make things easier for my demo. So you can see I've cleared everything out to make sure that we're ready to go again today. So from console, you can see that I haven't got any services registered. I'm doing a registered service called FM2, and I'll show you that file in a second. And very simply and very straightforwardly, I'm going to add it. And what this service is doing is I'm just really adding my ID name. So I'm adding an ID with a new IP address of VM3232. And as you can see, that instance is automatically updated within console as I have my developer forward that application. It's aware, it's service discovery, and now it's registered within my console. And as we looked in FortiManager, we can see there was no service added. We can see our rules is ready to go. So as I refresh this, we can start to see now that service S1 Jace that I set up with the IP addresses and subnet mask is now added into my firewall rule. So as those services are added, you can see that that firewall rule that I have within FortiManager is going to be associated with that name. So as I scale my services within busy time, so again, I need another VM because I'm a retail organization. It's Christmas. I need to get many more applications, instances up and running because it's busy. I need more people involved. So therefore, as you can see, there's 2 instances now registered. As we get to time in FortiManager, the synchronization aspect of it all is now going to update FortiManager. And as we can see, there's two services now been added, and it's now been added within my firewall policy. So we can see the synchronization working between the two. From my log perspective and historical information for visibility, I can see here that this can be collated and put into a better visibility tool such as Grafana, and then you can start to see how we're adding services within our environment. So if I add the final one from a service registration point of view, you can see that it's registered. My Terraform-Sync is going to notice it. You've added something else, Jason. You require another VM instance. Great. Now let's update our security policy based within FortiManager. And as you can see, I'm not waiting for any network or security teams to add IP addresses. I'm not waiting for security teams to add that within that security policy as I scale up. This is all done very quickly. We trust this security policy because our security team set it up. And all we're doing is ultimately adding to make sure as we scale in our busy time that those rules are maintained wherever they are, whichever cloud provider that may be, whether it's in private or public. And if we go to the other way, so Christmas is gone, we've gone into February, we need to now go to the opposite direction and remove some of our services because now we don't need as many and we don't want to build those services. I'll just deregister as we go along. I'll do this a little bit more quickly because of conscious of time. So as I deregister that service, I now have 2 instances. I can see my FortiManager is now going to be updated. Instead of having 3 services, I have 2. And there you go. So in an automatic way, we scaled up and then we can scale down. And if you think about what I'm doing, this is not, 3 services. It's not a huge scale. It's, something that, I may have in my own lab. Realistically, you're talking about you need a lot more, whether that's 30, 40 or 50 services or bigger CPU or bigger memory or bigger. This can all be utilized as part of the synchronization. So as I scale back my services, I go from 3, and I'm going to do this a bit quicker. Oh, that's the first typo today, so I've been doing well. And now we can see I've lost all my services. I don't need it. busy time's over. I'm updating my application for whatever reason. So I want to maintain my security policy still in place, but I don't need those services attached to it anymore. And as you can see, those services have deregistered. My policy is still in play, ready to go as we add more services into that environment. So quick demo, but hopefully you can see the integration, you can see the automation process, and give you a bit of flavor of what can be done. You know, this can be in tandem with your load balancers as well. So maintaining your DMZ to make sure that the firewall policy is maintained across your load balancer estate as well. So again, this can all be in conjunction, in tandem with that. It's not just a single point. So it's very powerful how we manage that world. So this is the demo that we've just seen from a push-pull type of architecture. We can see the address has been updated. We can see and manage that posture across all of that environment in a very quick and easy way. So let me just recap. From a console perspective of allowing that identity-based security, providing you that authentication or authorization of those applications in an encrypted way, giving that observability and resilience in a distributed architecture, allowing east-west and north-south workflows across all different runtimes, and ultimately providing automation across those worlds too. Console can come in as a self-managed environment if you wish, or we have a SaaS offering where we can provide and support the console infrastructure from our managed service world too. If you need any further information, we're very much happy to help you here. Very much happy to provide you that integrity into a lot more. Vinod can give you the Fortinet capabilities and how we integrate, and he's happy to help you there. So please reach out. From a HashiCorp perspective, we're absolutely happy to show you a lot more about all our tool sets, and we can set up workshops where you can have a look and play with those environments at your leisure. Oh, I don't know where that's gone. Apologies. I print on those links. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. I hope that was helpful to you. I hope that gave you a little bit of insight. You know, it's been quick, but we can provide you with some personalized workshops to give you a little bit more in depth and give you some real deep learning when you're ready. So thank you, Karen. Any question, Q&A, Karen, or anything you want to finish off?
Thank you, Jason, and thank you, Vinod. We have had a few questions come in. Yeah, so Gustavo noticed that the CTS module supports FortiGate. Any idea when FortiWeb will be supported? I think that would be you, Vinod.
Good question. At this point in time, I have to say we don't have a timeline, but the request is interesting, and you know, we will take it up with our development team, and we can get back with information on how we can support that.
Can I just add something quickly to that, Vinod, if you don't mind?
Go ahead.
The fact that we have providers to Fortinet makes things a lot easier. It's just now going into those specific tasks and those specific areas to make that work. So the main crux of that workload has been done. It's just now going into that granularity that you need to be specific.
Correct. Yeah.
And Eric also had a question. He sees all the current documentation, and in this demo with FortiGate virtual machines, what about physical appliances?
The same can be done with the FortiOS provider at the background, right? I mean, so FortiOS provider, the same FortiOS operating system runs on both the physical FortiGates as well as the virtual FortiGates. So, you know, what you can, and they are feature function compatible. You know, granted that one is a physical form factor, it's got physical interfaces. Another one may be suited to deploying in a SDN or cloud type environment. There may be some differences, but from a security feature function perspective, they are pretty much the same. Therefore, one provider can be utilized to accomplish the same task that you would with the virtual firewall. Jason, anything to add?
Absolutely. And again, looking at the providers within Terraform, they exist. So actually creating the ConsulTerraform-Sync module is very straightforward once the provider's there. So absolutely, yes.
Thank you both. Jason had one question. Can there be a direct integration between Consul and FortiGate without relying on the FortiManager?
Yeah, and exactly how Vinod answered that question just previously. Exactly. There's no reliance.
Okay. And when I implement CTS with Fortinet, will I still be able to leverage Fortinet integrations with cloud provider services and SDN platforms?
Yeah, sorry, Vinod.
All right, I'll take it actually. So yeah, you can continue. So it's not an either or kind of an environment, right? I mean, it's 1 + 1 is greater than 2 kind of impact here. So you can use Consul with the Terraform providers from Fortinet and the CTS module from Fortinet for deployment, and for day 2 operations that relate to integrations with cloud provider services from Fortinet. You can continue to leverage that. No, there should be no issue with that.
Thank you, Vinod. And where can I get access to the FortiManager and FortiGate providers?
The providers, good question. The providers are available at the same location which we showed for the CTS module, which is the Terraform registry. And it is also available at our GitHub site, actually, the Fortinet GitHub site as well.
Wonderful.
I just put a link in for FortiManager, but if you just go back with that URL, you'll be able to get into the Fortinet piece as well. So that's where you get the provider pieces from.
Dropping the link to everybody now. There. And where is the ConsulTerraform-Sync state stored?
So the ConsulTerraform-Sync stored within the key value store within Consul, and as each of the states are different, there'll be a file for each of their tasks as well. So it's actually stored within Consul key value.
Thank you, Jason. And can I use any Terraform module with ConsulTerraform-Sync?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, once you've created the provider, then we can create the modules for those tasks that you want from a console synchronization point of view. Absolutely.
We have one more question from Eric. When will these Fortinet HashiLabs be available that you mentioned, Jason?
We have workshops that we can go through. The labs we can run through with you at any particular time. And Vinod and myself are very much happy to work collaboratively with you to make sure that we can give you what you need and see how we can help you in the future.
Thank you so much, Jason. And I think that's the end of our questions there. And we're so thank you so much, Jason and Vinod, for the most informative session. And thank you to the audience. We had some very good questions there. I hope everyone enjoyed today's webinar and has a better understanding of simplifying hybrid cloud SecOps with Fortinet and ConsulTerraform-Sync for Terraform Enterprise. And finally, as mentioned at the beginning, this webinar was recorded and we'll make the recording